Have you ever wondered what happens when love finds you at the most unexpected moment? When your heart recognizes its match even before your mind catches up? If you're enjoying this story of unexpected connection, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more heartfelt stories that remind us why love is always worth the risk. The first time Ellie Morgan walked into my office, I dropped my coffee mug. Not because she was beautiful, though she certainly was, but because she was wearing the exact same ridiculous novelty tie as me. Tiny dinosaurs playing basketball. The kind of tie you buy as a joke and then actually wear because your 5-year-old daughter insists it's the coolest thing she's ever seen. "Nice tie," she said, her smile reaching all the way to her eyes as coffee pooled around my shoes. I looked down at the spreading puddle, then back at her. "You too." And that's how I, Marcus Chen, single father and overworked accountant, met my new boss. "Daddy, is Ms. Ellie coming for dinner again?" Lily asked, bouncing on her toes as I chopped vegetables for our Friday night stir-fry. At 5 years old, my daughter had already decided that Ellie Morgan was the most fascinating person in the universe. I couldn't exactly disagree. "Not tonight, sweetheart. Ms. Ellie has her own family to have dinner with." I tried to keep my voice neutral, though the thought of Ellie spending the evening with someone else sent an uncomfortable twinge through my chest. "Does she have a little girl like me?" Lily climbed onto her step stool to watch me cook, her small hands gripping the counter. "No, but she has a sister she takes care of." I didn't add that Ellie's sister had Down syndrome, or that their parents had passed away 3 years ago, leaving Ellie as her sister's guardian. Some details weren't mine to share, even with my curious daughter. "Is that why she understands us? Because she takes care of someone too?" I paused, knife hovering over a red bell pepper. Sometimes Lily's perception startled me. "Maybe, honey. Maybe that's exactly why." The quarterly budget meeting had run late, and the office was empty except for Ellie and me. Papers were strewn across the conference table, and my eyes burned from staring at spreadsheets for hours. "We should call it a night," Ellie said, stretching her arms above her head. "Mrs. Chen must be wondering where you are." I hesitated, then decided honesty was simpler than explaining. "There is no Mrs. Chen. Not anymore. Lily's mother left when she was 6 months old." Ellie's expression shifted, surprise giving way to something softer. "I'm sorry, Marcus. I didn't know. It's not something I advertise." I gathered the budget reports, tapping them into a neat stack. "My mother watches Lily when I work late. They're probably making dumplings and watching nature documentaries right now." "That sounds nice." Ellie's voice held a note of wistfulness. "My sister May and I usually get takeout on Fridays. Neither of us can cook worth a damn." I found myself saying, "I could teach you sometime. Cooking, I mean. It's not that hard once you know the basics." The smile she gave me then made my heart stutter. I'd like that. 3 months into working for Ellie, I realized I was in trouble. Not the kind that comes with performance reviews or missed deadlines, but the kind that makes you notice how someone tucks their hair behind their ear when they're concentrating, or how their laugh seems to brighten the whole room. "You like her," my mother said one evening after Lily had gone to bed. It wasn't a question. I looked up from the dishes I was washing. "She's my boss, Ma." "And? Bosses are people too." She dried a plate with methodical precision. "I've seen how you talk about her. You haven't looked at anyone that way since before Lily was born. It's complicated. Life is complicated. Hearts are simple." She set down the dish towel and placed her hand on my arm. "You've been alone too long, Marcus." "I'm not alone. I have Lily. I have you." "That's not what I mean, and you know it." Her eyes, so like my own, held mine steadily. "You deserve happiness too, son." I turned back to the sink, plunging my hands into the soapy water. Even if I did feel something for Ellie, and I'm not saying I do, she's my boss. There are rules about these things. Rules, my mother scoffed. Since when do rules dictate matters of the heart? The company picnic was Ellie's idea. Team building, she called it, but I suspected she just wanted an excuse to be outdoors on the first truly beautiful Saturday of spring. I couldn't blame her. After months of rain, the sunshine felt like a gift. I watched as Lily and May, Ellie's 27-year-old sister, fed ducks by the pond. Despite their age difference, they'd bonded immediately over a shared love of animals and colorful hair accessories. "They're good for each other," Ellie said, appearing beside me with 2 paper cups of lemonade. She handed me one, our fingers brushing in the exchange. "Lily's never met a stranger she didn't want to befriend," I said, taking a sip to hide my reaction to her touch. "She gets that from her mother." Ellie settled onto the picnic blanket beside me. "You don't talk about her much." "Lily's mom." I shrugged. Not much to say. Sophia wasn't ready for parenthood. She made her choice. "Do you ever hear from her?" "Birthday cards, sometimes. Christmas gifts that arrive in February." I watched Lily's dark ponytail bounce as she laughed at something May said. "It's better this way." Clean break. Still, Ellie said softly, it couldn't have been easy, raising a baby alone. "My mother helped." "And Lily?" I smiled, remembering tiny fingers gripping mine, first steps, first words. "Lily made it worth every sleepless night." Ellie's shoulder pressed against mine, warm and solid. "You're a good father, Marcus." "I try to be." I turned to look at her, struck by how the sunlight caught in her hair, turning it to copper and gold. "What about you? Anyone special in your life?" She laughed, the sound rippling through me. "Between work and May? When would I have time to date?" "You make time for what matters," I said, echoing words my mother had spoken to me countless times. Ellie's smile faded, replaced by something more serious. "Yes," she said quietly. "I suppose you do." The first time Ellie came to our apartment for dinner, Lily insisted on giving her the grand tour, which took approximately 3 minutes given the size of our place. "And this is Daddy's room," Lily announced, pushing open my bedroom door before I could stop her. "His bed is super bouncy, wanna see?" "Lily," I began, mortified, but Ellie was already being pulled inside by my enthusiastic daughter. "See?" Lily demonstrated by jumping once on my hastily made bed. "Daddy says I'm not supposed to jump on it, but sometimes he lets me when I'm sad." Ellie turned to me, eyebrow raised. "Breaking your own rules, Mr. Chen." I shrugged helplessly. "Try saying no to that face." Ellie studied my room, the stack of books on the nightstand, the framed photo of Lily as a newborn, the worn quilt my grandmother had made. Her gaze lingered on the king-sized bed that dominated the small space. "Is your bed big enough for 2?" she asked with a teasing smile. My heart stopped, then raced. "Only if you're the one beside me," I replied before I could think better of it. The words hung between us, too honest to be a joke, too forward to be ignored. Lily, oblivious to the sudden tension, had already moved on to showing Ellie her collection of stuffed animals in the next room. Ellie's eyes widened, and for a terrible moment, I thought I'd crossed a line we couldn't come back from. Then her lips curved into a smile that made my knees weak. "I'll keep that in mind," she said softly, and followed my daughter out of the room. "You said what?" Jason, my best friend since college, nearly choked on his beer. We were at our regular Thursday night meetup at the corner bar, the one time each week I allowed myself a few hours away from both work and fatherhood. I know. I groaned, covering my face with my hands. "It just came out." "And she didn't fire you on the spot?" "That's practically sexual harassment, man." "It wasn't like that." I lowered my voice, though the bar was noisy enough that no one could overhear. "We've been. I don't know. There's something there." Has been for months. Jason studied me over the rim of his glass. You're serious about her? It wasn't a question, but I answered anyway. Yeah. I think I am. What about Lily? Lily adores her. And Ellie's great with her. I traced a pattern in the condensation on my glass. It's not just attraction, Jace. When I'm with her, I feel like I can breathe again. Like I've been holding my breath for years without realizing it. Poetic, Jason snorted, but his eyes were kind. So what's stopping you? Besides the whole boss-employee thing. I sighed. Ellie has responsibilities too. Her sister needs her. And my life is complicated enough with work and Lily and trying to make partner by next year. Sounds like excuses to me. Jason signaled the bartender for another round. Life is always going to be complicated, Marcus. That doesn't mean you don't deserve happiness. You sound like my mother. Smart woman, your mom. Jason clinked his glass against mine. So what are you going to do about it? I took a long swallow of beer, considering. I have no idea. The company's annual charity gala was a black-tie affair held at the city's most prestigious hotel. As a senior manager, my attendance was mandatory, though I'd have preferred a quiet evening at home with Lily. You look handsome, Daddy, Lily said as I adjusted my bow tie in the hallway mirror. She was already in her pajamas, ready for a night of movies and ice cream with her grandmother. Thank you, sweetheart. I knelt to her level. You be good for Nai, okay? I won't be home too late. Will Ms. Ellie be there? Lily asked, her eyes bright with interest. Yes, she will. Is she wearing a princess dress? I smiled at my daughter's one-track mind. I don't know what she's wearing, but I'm sure she'll look very nice. You should dance with her, Lily said with the certainty of a 5-year-old. Like in Cinderella. It's not that kind of party, honey. Every party should have dancing, she insisted. Nai says dancing makes hearts happy. I kissed her forehead. When did you get so wise? The ballroom was transformed with twinkling lights and elaborate floral arrangements. Colleagues I normally saw in business casual attire were suddenly elegant strangers in tuxedos and evening gowns. I accepted a glass of champagne from a passing waiter and scanned the room for familiar faces. Looking for someone? I turned to find Ellie beside me, and my carefully prepared greeting died on my lips. She wore a deep green dress that left her shoulders bare, her hair swept up to reveal the graceful line of her neck. She was breathtaking. You look. I searched for a word that wouldn't reveal too much. Nice. Her lips quirked. You don't clean up so bad yourself, Chen. We stood in awkward silence for a moment, the air between us charged with things unsaid. How's May tonight? I asked finally. Having the time of her life. My neighbor's daughter is staying with her. They're having a spa night. Ellie sipped her champagne. And Lily? Movie marathon with my mother. Probably negotiating for extra ice cream as we speak. Ellie laughed, and the tension eased. Smart kid. Too smart sometimes. I hesitated, then added, she told me I should dance with you tonight. Like in Cinderella. Ellie's eyes softened. Did she now? She has very definite ideas about how adults should behave. And what do you think? Ellie set her empty glass on a nearby table. About dancing, I mean. The string quartet in the corner began a new piece, something slow and sweet. I set my own glass down and held out my hand. I think my daughter would be very disappointed in me if I didn't at least ask. Ellie placed her hand in mine. Well, we can't disappoint Lily, can we? I led her to the edge of the dance floor, where other couples swayed to the music. Her hand was warm in mine, her other resting lightly on my shoulder. I placed my free hand at her waist, careful to maintain a professional distance despite the overwhelming urge to pull her closer. "I should warn you," I said as we began to move with the music, "I haven't danced since my wedding. I won't hold it against you if you step on my toes." Her eyes met mine, playful but with something deeper beneath. "Though I should warn you, these shoes were expensive. I'll do my best to protect your investment." We moved together more smoothly than I expected, finding a rhythm that felt natural. The room around us seemed to fade, the music and the gentle pressure of her hand in mine the only things that mattered. "Marcus," Ellie said softly, "about what you said that night at your apartment." My heart stuttered. I crossed a line. "I'm sorry." "Don't be." Her fingers tightened on mine. "I've been thinking about it. A lot." The music swelled around us, and I drew her slightly closer, close enough to catch the scent of her perfume. And I think." She looked up at me, vulnerability clear in her eyes. "I think I'd like to see if your bed really is big enough for two." The world seemed to stop. "Ellie, Not tonight," she added quickly. "Not until we figure out, whatever this is between us. But someday. If you meant what you said." I meant it. The words came out rougher than I intended. "God, Ellie, I meant it more than I've meant anything in a long time." She smiled then, a smile I'd never seen before, tender and a little shy. "Good." The music ended, but we remained where we were, hands clasped, hearts racing with possibility. "Daddy, can we invite Ms. Ellie and Ms. May to the zoo with us?" Lily asked over breakfast the following Saturday. "Ms. May told me she loves monkeys, and the zoo has a new baby monkey. I saw it on TV." I poured more orange juice into her cup, considering. "The zoo is pretty crowded on weekends, sweetheart. But it would be more fun with them." Lily looked up at me with pleading eyes. "Please, Daddy. I promise I'll be super good." I hesitated, torn between my daughter's wishes and my own uncertainty about where things stood with Ellie after the gala. We'd been careful at work all week, maintaining our professional relationship despite the charged moments when our eyes would meet across a conference table. "Let me call and see if they're free," I said finally, unable to resist Lily's hopeful expression. Ellie answered on the third ring, her voice warm with sleep. "Marcus? Is everything okay?" "Everything's fine. Sorry if I woke you." I moved to the living room, away from Lily's curious ears. "Lily wanted me to invite you and May to the zoo today. There's a new baby monkey she's excited about." "The zoo?" Ellie sounded more awake now. "That sounds fun, actually. May would love it." "What time were you thinking?" We made arrangements to meet at the main entrance at 11, and I hung up feeling both excited and nervous, like a teenager planning a first date. "Are they coming?" Lily bounced into the living room, still in her pajamas. "Yes, they are. Now go get dressed if you want to see that baby monkey." Lily squealed and raced to her room, leaving me to wonder what exactly I was getting myself into. The zoo was indeed crowded, but Lily's excitement was infectious. She held May's hand as they moved from exhibit to exhibit, reading the information PLAs aloud and sharing facts they both found interesting. May's enthusiasm matched Lily's, her face lighting up at each new animal they discovered. "They're good together," Ellie said as we walked a few paces behind them. "May doesn't have many friends her own age. People don't always know how to act around her." "Lily doesn't have those filters yet," I replied, watching my daughter point excitedly at a flamingo. "She just sees May as someone who shares her interests. I wish more adults could be like that." Ellie's hand brushed against mine as we walked, perhaps accidentally, perhaps not. "See people for who they are, not what makes them different." I took a chance and caught her fingers with mine. She looked down at our joined hands, then up at me with a smile that made my heart race. "Is this okay?" I asked quietly. She squeezed my hand in response. More than okay. We continued through the zoo, hand in hand, watching our two most important people bond over exotic animals and overpriced snacks. When Lily and May ran ahead to see the new monkey exhibit, Ellie turned to me. "This feels right," she said simply. "Being here with you and Lily." "It does," I agreed, surprised by how natural it felt, the four of us together like this. "But Ellie, we should talk about work. About what this means for." "I know." She sighed. "Company policy. I've been thinking about it all week. And I think some things are worth the risk." She met my eyes steadily. "Don't you?" Before I could answer, Lily came running back, May following more slowly behind her. "Daddy! Ms. Ellie! The baby monkey is so cute. You have to come see." Ellie smiled at my daughter's excitement. "Lead the way, Lily." As we followed the girls to the monkey enclosure, Ellie's hand still in mine, I realized I'd already made my decision. Some things were indeed worth the risk. The first time Ellie stayed for dinner after our zoo trip, Lily insisted on helping cook. My usually neat kitchen became a disaster zone of spilled flour and too much garlic, but the spaghetti we produced was declared the best ever by both Lily and May. After dinner, while the girls watched a movie in the living room, Ellie helped me clean up. "Thank you for today," she said, drying a plate I handed her. "May hasn't stopped talking about the monkeys. Lily's already planning our next outing. She mentioned something about the aquarium and whether sharks can be friends with dolphins." Ellie laughed, the sound warming me from the inside out. Important scientific questions. We worked in comfortable silence for a moment, the domesticity of the scene striking me. How many evenings had I spent washing dishes alone, listening to Lily's cartoons from the other room? How different it felt to have someone beside me, someone whose presence filled spaces I hadn't realized were empty. "I spoke with HR yesterday," Ellie said suddenly, setting down the dish towel. "About us." I nearly dropped the glass I was rinsing. "You did?" She nodded. "I told them we wanted to pursue a relationship and asked about the company policy." "And?" My heart hammered against my ribs. "And there are options." She leaned against the counter, facing me. "I could recuse myself from your performance reviews and salary decisions. We'd need to disclose the relationship formally. Or, I prompted when she hesitated. "Or I could accept the regional director position they offered me last month. Different department, different floor. No direct supervisory relationship." I stared at her, processing this new information. "They offered you a promotion?" "It's not really a promotion. More of a lateral move with different responsibilities." She shrugged. "I've been putting off giving them an answer." "Why?" Her eyes met mine, vulnerable and honest. "Because I didn't want to stop working with you every day." The confession hung between us, simple and profound. I set down the sponge and dried my hands, then stepped closer to her. "Ellie," I said softly, "I don't want to be the reason you turn down an opportunity." "You're not." She reached up to touch my face, her fingers cool against my cheek. "You're the reason I'm considering it at all. Because this, whatever's happening between us, I think it could be something real. Something worth exploring." I covered her hand with mine, turning to press a kiss to her palm. "I think so too." Her eyes darkened, and she swayed toward me. "Marcus." "Daddy." Lily's voice broke the moment. "The movie's over and May says she knows how to make friendship bracelets. Can we make some? Please?" I stepped back, clearing my throat. "Sure, honey. We'll be right there." Ellie's smile was both amused and full of promise. "To be continued," she murmured. 2 weeks later, Ellie accepted the regional director position. We filed the appropriate paperwork with HR, endured knowing looks from colleagues, and began the delicate process of redefining our relationship outside the boundaries of boss and employee. Our first official date was dinner at a small Italian restaurant downtown, just the two of us. My mother had volunteered to watch both Lily and May for the evening, declaring that we, young people, needed time alone. "This feels strange," Ellie admitted as we studied our menus. "Being out with you without spreadsheets or children between us. Good strange or bad strange?" I asked, suddenly nervous. Her foot found mine under the table. "Definitely good strange." The conversation flowed easily, moving from work to family to more personal territories we'd never had the opportunity to explore. I learned that she'd wanted to be a veterinarian before discovering her talent for business, that she hated cilantro with a passion, that she'd broken her arm twice as a child trying to fly off the garage roof with a homemade parachute. "What about you?" she asked as we shared a tiramisu. "Any childhood dreams that didn't pan out?" "I wanted to be an astronaut," I admitted. "Had glow-in-the-dark stars all over my ceiling. Built model rockets. The whole 9 yards." "What happened?" "Reality. Calculus. The fact that I get motion sick on merry-go-rounds." I shrugged. "Some dreams aren't meant to be." "And accounting was?" "Accounting was practical. It was a way to support myself, and then Lily, when she came along. I twirled my fork in the dessert, considering. But I don't regret it. I'm good at what I do. It may not be exciting, but it matters." "You matter," Ellie said softly. "The work is just work." I looked up, caught by the sincerity in her voice. "When did you get so wise?" "I've always been wise. You just weren't paying attention." Her smile turned mischievous. Too distracted by my dinosaur basketball tie. It was a very distracting tie. We laughed together, and I marveled at how easy it was to be with her, how right it felt. After dinner, we walked along the riverfront, the city lights reflecting on the water. When Ellie shivered in the evening breeze, I put my arm around her shoulders, drawing her close. "Better?" I asked. She looked up at me, her face illuminated by the soft glow of the street lamps. "Almost." Then she rose on her toes and pressed her lips to mine. The kiss was gentle at first, a question more than a demand. I answered by pulling her closer, deepening the kiss until we were both breathless. When we finally parted, her eyes were bright with emotion. "I've been wanting to do that for months," she confessed. "Me too." I tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, marveling that I could touch her this way now. "Since the dinosaur tie, if I'm being honest." She laughed and kissed me again, and I knew with sudden clarity that I was falling in love with Ellie Morgan. Our relationship progressed with the cautious optimism of two people who had experienced loss and understood the value of what they'd found. We carved out time for dates between work responsibilities and family obligations, sometimes with the girls, sometimes just the two of us. 3 months after our first kiss by the river, Ellie and May came over for our now traditional Friday night dinner. The girls were engrossed in a board game while Ellie and I prepared the meal, moving around each other in the kitchen with practiced ease. "I had a meeting with the regional VP today," Ellie said as she chopped vegetables. "They're expanding the department, opening a new office across town." "That sounds promising." I stirred the sauce simmering on the stove. "More responsibility for you?" "More like a different kind of responsibility." She set down her knife, her expression serious. "They want me to head the new office. It would mean more autonomy, a bigger team." "Ellie, that's fantastic." I turned to her, genuinely pleased. "You deserve it." "It would also mean a longer commute. Different hours." She hesitated. "Less time for this." I understood her concern. We'd both worked hard to balance our careers with our relationship and our families. Any change to that delicate equilibrium felt threatening. "We'll figure it out," I said, taking her hand. This is an important opportunity for you. Are you sure? Her eyes searched mine. Because I've been thinking, there might be another solution. What kind of solution? She took a deep breath. What if May and I moved closer to you and Lily? We could see each other more easily, even with the new position. My heart raced at the implication. Are you talking about moving in together? Not necessarily right away, she said quickly. But maybe eventually. If things continue going well between us. I set down the spoon I was holding and turned to face her fully. Ellie, are you saying what I think you're saying? She met my gaze steadily. I'm saying I love you, Marcus. And I love Lily. And I think, I hope, you and Lily feel the same way about me and May. We do, I said without hesitation. God, Ellie, we do. I pulled her into my arms, heedless of the sauce bubbling on the stove or the vegetables half chopped on the cutting board. She melted against me, her arms wrapping around my waist. I love you, I murmured against her hair. I think I've loved you since you walked into my office wearing that ridiculous tie. She laughed, the sound muffled against my chest. We're quite a pair, aren't we? The best kind, I agreed, tilting her face up for a kiss. A giggle from the doorway interrupted us. We turned to find Lily and May watching, identical grins on their faces. Are you guys getting married? Lily asked bluntly. Ellie and I exchanged startled glances. We're just talking about the future, honey, I said carefully. But you love each other, right? Lily persisted. You said so. I heard you. Yes, Ellie answered, her hand finding mine. We do love each other. Then you should get married, Lily declared with the certainty of a 5-year-old. And then Ms. Ellie and Ms. May can live with us forever. May nodded enthusiastically. I want to be a bridesmaid. Ellie laughed, but I could see the emotion in her eyes. We'll see, girls. These things take time. Why? Lily demanded. When you love someone, you should tell them. That's what you always say, Daddy. I looked at my precocious daughter, then at the woman beside me who had somehow become essential to my happiness. You know what, Lily? You're absolutely right. And there in my small kitchen, with sauce burning on the stove and our makeshift family as witnesses, I got down on one knee. Ellie Morgan, I said, looking up at her shocked face, I know this isn't how most people do this. I don't have a ring, and we haven't been together that long. But I know what I feel for you is real and lasting. You've brought joy back into my life, into our home. Lily adores you, and I love you more than I thought possible after everything. So while I'm not asking you to marry me today, I am asking if that's a path you might consider walking with me, someday. Tears spilled down Ellie's cheeks as she pulled me to my feet. Yes, she whispered. Someday. Yes. Lily and May cheered as Ellie and I sealed our unconventional promise with a kiss, the burning sauce forgotten as we embraced our unexpected future together. 6 months later, Ellie and May moved into a house just 3 blocks from our apartment. Close enough for impromptu dinners and sleepovers, but with enough space to maintain our separate lives as we continued to build our relationship. A year after that, on the anniversary of our first date, I proposed properly, with a ring this time, and a more traditional speech. We were married in a small ceremony with Lily as flower girl and May as maid of honor, my mother beaming proudly from the front row. The journey wasn't always smooth. Blending families never is. There were adjustments and compromises, tears and frustrations. May had bad days when her disabilities seemed overwhelming. Lily struggled sometimes with sharing attention. Ellie and I had disagreements about parenting styles and household management. But there was also laughter, so much laughter. There were movie nights and game nights, holiday traditions old and new. There were quiet moments after the girls were asleep, when Ellie and I would talk about our day or simply hold each other in comfortable silence. And yes, My bed was indeed big enough for two, especially when the one beside me was the woman who had walked into my office wearing a dinosaur tie and changed my life forever. 5 years after that first meeting, Ellie and I sat on the back porch of the house we now shared, watching Lily, now 10 and gangly with adolescence approaching, teach me a complicated clapping game. "Do you ever think about how it all started?" Ellie asked, her head resting on my shoulder. "With that ridiculous question about your bed?" I laughed, remembering my mortification and the spark of hope her teasing smile had ignited. "I think about it every time I look at you. Smooth talker." She nudged me playfully. "Who would have thought your awkward response would lead to this?" I looked around at our yard, our home, our family, imperfect and wonderful and entirely ours. I think part of me knew, even then, that you were someone special. Someone worth taking a chance on. Even though I was your boss. Especially because you were my boss. I kissed her temple. Only a truly exceptional woman could pull off authority and dinosaur basketball simultaneously. Ellie laughed, the sound still my favorite after all these years. "I love you, Marcus Chen." "I love you too, Ellie Chen." I squeezed her hand, the matching rings on our fingers catching the late afternoon sunlight. "Always will." As the sun began to set, casting golden light across our small piece of the world, I thought about all the twists and turns that had led us here. The coffee spilled on that first meeting. The dance at the charity gala. The kiss by the river. The impromptu proposal in my kitchen. Life rarely follows the path we expect. Sometimes it leads us down darker roads than we'd choose, through loss and loneliness and uncertainty. But sometimes, if we're brave enough to keep our hearts open, it brings us exactly where we need to be. Beside me, Ellie sighed contentedly, her warmth against my side a constant reminder that love finds us in the most unexpected ways, even in a question about a bed being big enough for two. If this story touched your heart, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more stories that remind us love is worth every risk, every chance, every leap of faith. Sometimes the most beautiful journeys begin with the simplest questions, and the courage to answer them honestly.